When draft season started, it was almost a moot point for us, a Minnesota Vikings channel, to talk about Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter. Looked to be a surefire top 5 pick, maybe even number 1 overall if the Bears were unable to trade on down. But a lot has gone on in the life of the Georgia superstar defensive tackle, notably the legal issue. So we don't want to speculate on it, but we're just going to read exactly what ESPN reported back on March 1st. Jalen Carter, top NFL draft prospect, charged with racing in fatal crash. Former Georgia star Jalen Carter, one of the top prospects in next month's draft, yada, 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 has been charged with reckless driving and racing in connection with a crash that killed a teammate and a recruiting staff member. The Georgia Police Department issued an arrest warrant obtained Wednesday by the Associated Press that alleges Carter was racing his 2021 Jeep Trackhawk against a 2021 Ford Expedition driven by the recruiting staffer, 24-year-old Chandler LaCroix, which led to the January 15th wreck. The announcement came hours after the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported that Carter was present at the scene of the crash and later provided shifting accounts of the wreck to police. Devin Willock, who was an offensive lineman for the Bulldogs, and LaCroix were killed in what police initially reported as a single vehicle accident. So Carter turned himself in, posted bond, and it's an ongoing issue, and it's a tragic event, and it's unfortunate that Carter was involved in something like that. And that's what a lot of teams are looking at. That's what a lot of teams are weighing in their draft boards right now, and because of his involvement with this very sad and horrific event that cost 2 people their lives. Right. And so that's what's going on with the legal issues. And Jalen Carter on Wednesday was at the Georgia Pro Day, and it wasn't good. All right, so first off, he didn't do any of the measurable stuff. He declined to run the 40. This from Dov Kleeman. He couldn't finish positional drills due to breathing heavily and cramping up, according to Mark Schlabach of ESPN. Reports say he showed up 9 pounds heavier than at his pro day than at the combine, which is also not good. Clay Harbor, former Eagles tight end, as well as he's a Bears media jabroni now. My man Jalen Carter is looking gassed. You had one job, and that's to be in shape for your pro day. If you can't do that, the NFL will be hard for you. You can't physically dominate everyone. Not a good look, etc. Also, screenshot, our guy Jordan Reed. Rockin' ESPN. Fantastic NFL draft scout. Love him. So with Jalen Carter, there's a lot going on. So pro day was not good. I'm sure the events of the legal issue that's hanging over his head, I'm sure that weighs on his conscience. And I sort of understand it, what's going on with him in the legal arena and the pro day. So he's got that on his mind. He's probably not sleeping well. He probably does have a guilty conscience. And, the whole working out, being focused, that's what a lot of these guys are, because this is the ultimate job interview. And maybe Carter just doesn't have it right now. So I do have empathy for the young man. And I think a lot of teams are going to look at it that way, where they look at it with empathy and grace and just like, hey, he's going through a tough time right now. He was involved in a very tragic event, and maybe his head's not in the game at this moment in time when it should be, since this is potentially costing him draft position. And with Jalen Carter, I think there is a real chance that he could fall in the draft, because the legal issue is one thing, but then when you're unable to finish simple drills at your pro day, as well as you show up 9 pounds heavier, and weight was going to be an issue to begin with him being an interior defensive lineman, he could fall. And that's why we're even talking about him, because could he potentially fall out of the top half of the first round, and could he be potentially be in play for the Vikings? And now, first off, Jalen Carter, before the legal issues, before the pro day, was seen as an elite defender and potentially the number 1 defensive player drafted, the first non-quarterback taken. So let's not act like all of a sudden things have massively changed. Well, they have, but some teams may not see it that way. Some teams may just see it's like, okay, he's got this legal issue. His head wasn't in the game at his pro day. We're still going to take him because things will get better and the legal issue will be resolved, and just go from there. And I could see him potentially not even falling that far. Like maybe Seattle just takes him at 5 if all the quarterbacks are gone, or Detroit takes him at 6. That would really be scary for the Detroit's interior defensive line. So maybe this is a moot point, but also I could see a lot of teams just taking a look at Jalen Carter in the situation and be like, okay, Head wasn't in the game at his pro day, was overweight, and does have this legal issue. Is this a sign? Was this an anomaly? Was this a one-off, or is this a sign of red flags? And teams may pass on him because, I mean, if a team drafts Jalen Carter high and he doesn't work out with all these red flags, that's on the team, and they're going to get roasted. And maybe they will go with a safer pick, even though Jalen Carter obviously has that talent, man. And Jalen Carter, he's 21 years young, 6'3", 323 now, I guess. 6 career sacks, 18.5 career tackles for loss, a career 10.85% pressure rate. In 2022, he posted a 92.3 PFF grade, unanimous All-American, back-to-back college football champ, and I mean, bottom line, before all the offseason stuff, like, he was the best player on a back-to-back national title team, one of the best defenses, and not the best defense in college football, and that quick interior pressure and power that he brings, it's rare. And it's something that is being rewarded heavily and is sought after in the National Football League. You look at Chris Jones, $20 million a year. Aaron Donald's an anomaly, but no. But also Jeffrey Simmons, who's going to get paid. You look at Deron Payne, who got the bag from the commies. So, I mean, Jalen Carter is going to be in demand. And like I said, maybe this is a moot point because maybe a team just looks past all the offseason stuff. It's like, this guy's a stud. He's going to be fine. We'll get him in a good support system, and we'll just go from there. And looking at a scouting report, this is from Lance Zierlein, NFL.com, he even compares him to Jeffrey Simmons. When assessing a player's draft grade, we take into consideration areas like traits, toughness, explosiveness, skill level, and potential for growth and positional projections. Across the board, Carter checks out in a big way. However, his maturity will need to be vetted by each team as they make their evaluations. The tape shows a defender with odd or even front versatility and a rare blend of first-step quickness and leverage through contact. He's capable of finding quick wins against sloppy guard play and finishes the play once he's in the backfield. His hand usage can be violent or subtle, but the feet are always active and searching for an opening. Based upon talent, traits, and projection, Carter appears ready to step into the NFL and become a productive three-down talent with Pro Bowl potential. And the whole thing about his really terrible pro day, for me, I think the legal stuff is a little bit more concerning because, I mean, the pro day is a pro day is a pro day, and it probably is tied to the legal stuff. And, I mean, look at Orlando Brown Jr., You've seen as a first-round talent coming out of Oklahoma, had a historically bad combine where it appeared like he just gave up. Like, it just wasn't his day, whatever. Fell to the third round to the Ravens. Eventually went to the Chiefs, got the franchise tag, and then now he got the bag from the Bengals, where $31 million for a signing bonus, the largest for offensive tackle in NFL history. So it worked out for him pretty decently. And maybe it could work out for Carter, even with all this offseason stuff going on. And for the Vikings, I mean, again, I think it's still unlikely that he gets the Vikings at 23 or maybe even into the late teens where the Vikings would potentially consider a trade up. But, I mean, the Vikings interior defensive line right now, there's not a lot there. With Diesel Dalvin Thompson signing with the Browns, Harrison Phillips still has 2 years left on his 3-year deal. Ross Blacklock took a pay cut to be back. Jumpin' James Lynch could benefit from a scheme change. Same thing with Asezi Otomo. Kairos Tonga showed off some nice things early last season, and that's really about it. I mean, Bullard's out there floating as a free agent. The Vikings haven't really been tied to anyone along the defensive front as of yet in free agency. And Carter, I mean, I don't know if he's going to fall, but if he does fall, I think it could be far. Like, it could be an epic historical fall. And it's not like Tunsil and the gas mask bong thing, because, I mean, Tunsil is still an elite talent and he tested fine. But, you know, with Carter, it was a combination of the off-field stuff as well as pro day issues, where teams are going to question commitment, even though I still chalk up his frame of mind to what is hanging over him right now. But teams are going to wonder, will that affect him as a pro? Right? But we shall see. But like I said, I'm sure that the Vikings, Vikings scouting department, I'm sure did some cursory work on Carter, but probably not too in-depth, because zero chance that he was going to be there at 23. But now I'm sure that the scouting department is ramping up things. Take a look at Carter, because he could potentially be in play, and they got to get ready for every scenario. I'm sure that Kwesi and staff are doing that right now. But your thoughts are thoughts. Should the Minnesota Vikings consider Jalen Carter if he falls to the Vikings late in the first round? Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.